Hello and welcome back. So today I want to do a review of the Reactive Training Systems course, Emerging Strategies. It's the Emerging Strategies classroom that they offer. Now, if I have a quick look at what they say on their webpage, programming with emerging strategies, it is $1,000, and the idea of it, they offer quite a lengthy description. But the idea of it is that you will essentially learn how to program for yourself or your athletes that you are coaching and write a program which is very, very much aligned with emerging strategies. So you'll write a microcycle that looks very, very similar to what you might get from a Reactive Training Systems coaches themselves, and you would manage an athlete or your own training via the emerging strategies protocol. It's almost like a uh, bottom up method of periodization instead of a top down approach. Now, it's $1,000. So what do you get for the $1,000? Well, they list all the modules here, but the modules are basically videos. So module 1 will have a video on these topics, module 2 will have videos on these topics, and each video is 15 minutes to 30 minutes long. The videos themselves are normally basically a PowerPoint presentation which Mike T is commentating on, and has his webcam picture in the bottom right. I think it's bottom right of the screen. Now, there's not fantastic video quality in that regard, like there's no magnificent editing, it's not flashy or anything like that. However, it does do the job. I'm not too sure what additional editing would necessarily bring other than making it look nicer. So that's what you get, and it's sufficient, really. Now, one thing I do want to point out, there's a lot of videos. You can pay in 10 monthly payments, but you also get access to the Reactive Training Systems Training Lab. You get 6 months free on the RTS Training Lab, which is here. Now I'm going to do a few comments on this, but this is basically almost like, I think it was at its heart meant to be like a discussion forum, but it's almost like an addition to the Emerging Strategies classroom. And you also get some of their track systems coaching database, which is great, but I'm not really wanting to look at today because it is early access, and I think a review on it for something that is included as an extra is perhaps a bit unfair for them. So I'm going to focus mainly on emerging strategies classroom, with a bit of discussion around the Reactive Training Systems Training Lab. So, what's good about emerging strategies, or at least the classroom that they offer? Well, for starters, the video series, it works. If you pay the $1,000, you go through all of the videos, you will have a very good idea as to how to write a microcycle that is appropriate for yourself or the people you are coaching. And that microcycle is going to be very much in the style of Reactive Training Systems programming, and you will know how to use that microcycle within an emerging strategies framework. Now, of course, you're not going to learn how to program in the style of Juggernaut Training Systems or using block periodization or anything like that. But then that's not why you're getting this course. You're getting this course to learn about emerging strategies. And it's not really, they don't pretend that that's what you will learn. They are very focused on emerging strategies, and that's what you learn. It achieves what it wants to. Now, the video course is very comprehensive. Every topic you can really think of is completely covered. It's really good in that regard. I can't think of anything that's really missed out of the video course itself. There are also a lot of different, essentially microcycle templates, and they all come with a video discussion about the breakdown of those templates within the Emerging Strategies Classroom video course. There's also some shorter videos on the training lab, but those shorter videos don't really go into the pros and cons of the templates. Those videos are far more basic. The classroom videos go into a bit more depth. Now, unfortunately, with all of the videos, including the ones with the templates, they're a bit of a mixed bag. Some of the videos are fantastic. Like, you can probably take maybe 10% of the videos you have, and they will form the bread and butter of the video series. If you just take those 10 in isolation, you probably know 90% of what you need to know to program very well with emerging strategies. And those videos are the very good ones. Which also leads us on to what's bad about the classroom. And the remaining videos in the course, oftentimes they're not that good. They might be 20 minutes long and covering a topic which should only really take 3 or 4 minutes. And it's not that you can't discuss a topic for 20 minutes, but it's that there isn't enough information offered to justify it being 20 minutes long. They're very rambly, and they don't really offer a huge amount of content. And it almost feels, I got the feeling and the impression that it was a bit like filler content. They're trying to bulk out their classroom course to justify the $1,000 cost. Now, I don't know if that was their intention or not. I really don't. But all I can say is that's the feeling I got when I was watching them. Now, some of the videos, like I said, they can be quite rambly. Some of them seem a bit almost pointless. Like I think this almost goes hand in hand with the rambly. Like when you have a 20-minute video, which really should just be a couple of minutes long or a few minutes long, the video itself seems a bit pointless. They need to compress it. They need to shorten it, and all of those essentially elongated videos, the videos which are 20 minutes long, should be made a lot shorter and combined into one longer video series. So one longer singular video. Now, what's also, I think, bad, I mentioned in the good section about the templates you get. You get some fairly good templates and fairly good ideas and examples as to how to program with emerging strategies. Now, each of these templates, they have 3 cycles. You got the early cycle, the mid cycle, and late cycle. But the Emerging Strategies Classroom course is quite bad at explaining the difference between these 3 cycles. They're not very good at teaching you how to use these different types of cycles within your training or your athletes' training. And that's a bit of a drawback. And finally, the biggest drawback, 100%, is the price. It's $1,000. That's extraordinarily expensive. It's ludicrous. It really is, frankly, ludicrous. It is not worth $1,000. If this was priced at $100, I'd probably still be saying it's overpriced. I might still be recommending it in that instance. Maybe if it was $100, I might still say, yeah, sure. I'd probably recommend it. But to say it's worth $1,000 is frankly ridiculous. It is not worth $1,000. It is not worth $500. It's not worth $100. I would not feel comfortable pricing this if it was my product at $100. And that is the biggest drawback, because unfortunately the content is good, the video quality is acceptable, but what you're getting is just not value for money because the cost is so damn high. Now, before I summarize everything, I want to perhaps look at the Reactive Training Systems training lab. And you get this as a 6-month free subscription when you purchase Emerging Strategies Classroom. Now, I've had to purchase this separately in order to do the review because I purchased Emerging Strategies slightly before this training lab came out. So it's $35 a month. It will go up if you try to include additional athletes. So if you're a coach and you're using their coaching dashboard for your athletes, it will charge you extra. I'm not too sure. Um, I don't think there's any additional overheads for you using it for, say, 50 athletes or 100 athletes. I think they just sort of use that to justify the price, but I might be wrong there. Now, once you have it, once you've paid for it, you get onto the Reactive Training Systems lab. I'm not going to go too in depth in this because I don't want to just share all of their content and infringe on their copyright. But basically, down here there will be a bit of a discussion forum almost. It's almost like a Facebook feed. I get the impression they wanted it to be a discussion forum, but I don't think it's quite worked out. It's basically like a long Facebook feed. And you also have resources, which offer some details about how to use the track system they have. Um, they have some details about emerging strategies. If you subscribe to this, you will, even without the classroom, you will get 5 free videos on how to employ emerging strategies. And I think those videos are completely sufficient. And I'll talk about that at the end. So you'll get those videos. You'll also get all of the program library. So I know I was saying about the templates that Reactive Training Systems offer. That's very, I was quite complimentary of them. Well, you get those templates with the Reactive Training Systems Lab subscription, even without the classroom. Now, what you will get is just a Google document with all of them in and a brief 5 minute or so video description about each of these. These are the templates they have. So that's what you'll get, but I think that's enough, really. And then you will also you have like these office hours, calendars, and recordings in the bottom left, and some additional videos. So you get almost like weekly streams from the Reactive Training Systems coaches who will go through everything that's on offer. Now, one thing I want to say, I think, is this ties quite nicely in with the classroom review, in that the 5 videos you get about emerging strategies, if you combine that with perhaps some exploration around Bondarchuk's exercise classification. It's the exercise classification that Reactive Training System use. Juggernaut Training Systems do a fantastic article on their website about it, making sense of Bondarchuk exercise classification. I'll put a link in the description for this. So if you combine those 5 videos you get with the training lab, some exploration of Bondarchuk's exercise classification, and then you try and understand how things have been applied in the templates you have here. Bearing in mind each template will be slightly different. Some will be low volume, high intensity. Some will be higher volume, lower intensity. With different others may have different loading protocols and things. And if you're basically just recognize that all of these templates are about figuring out what works best for the lifter. So you'd figure out which type of template, what level of volume, what level of intensity each lifter best responds to by using the emerging strategies protocol, which you will learn about in the 5 free videos. If you learn about that, you look at some of the different loading strategies and things within templates, and you understand the exercise classifications. I think you have learned pretty much everything you need to effectively program for emerging strategies. And I think you could, if you go through all of that, I think you'll be surprised. If you try and write a program, it may not be that good, but then try and write, say, 5 programs for 5 different athletes, and that 5th program is going to be pretty good. That 5th program would be the equivalent of a program you would be able to write if you had purchased the $1,000 Emerging Strategies classroom. And that's ultimately, I think, why I wouldn't recommend the Emerging Strategies classroom, because at $1,000, it's just not really worth it. I really don't. You can figure out how to program using emerging strategies just fine with the other resources available. Now, the RTS Training Lab, would I recommend that? At $35 a month? Potentially. If you are particularly interested in wanting to see the different templates and wanted to try and figure out yourself how to program in an emergency strategies protocol, then sure, it's probably worth it. I don't know if I would recommend staying subscribed, but you can probably judge that yourself once you're subscribed. You do get the track coaching section, which might be very useful if you are using emerging strategies with your athletes. I do think it has a huge amount of potential. So I'm just reluctant to do a review on something that's early access. Now, the only thing I will say about the training lab is it's very unintuitive. It's quite awkward to navigate and figure out what's happening. They've got these office hours calendars and recordings and at home, and everything's a bit clunky, a bit awkward. So I would perhaps recommend taking your time to try and figure it out. And it's a bit of a drawback, really. But you will get all of their templates. You will get access to the coaching systems with this, and you will get some free videos, which, with additional exploration, will teach you what you need to know to program in an emerging strategies framework. And so that's the review, really. So to summarize, the emerging strategies classroom at $1,000, 100% do not recommend at $1,000. If they reduce the price to maybe $100, sure, I'd definitely consider going for it. $1,000, definitely miss out. It's not good value for money. The training lab, if you really want to program with emerging strategies, perhaps consider getting it. You can always cancel the subscription after the first month, so it may be worth exploring and seeing some of the templates and looking at some of the information they have there. Especially if you combine it with exploration of Bondarchuk's exercise classification. Now, I think because of that, I'm probably going to. I think on the website, I'm scoring emerging strategies as a 6 out of 10. And that's solely for value for money, really. It's not good value for money at $1,000, which is a shame because there's a lot of potential, but it needs a lot of brushing up and it needs the price seriously adjusting. And so that's the review for emerging strategies. Now, if you found it useful, please do comment and like and subscribe, and I will hopefully have some reviews for other programs in the future. Thank you for watching, and I will hopefully see you next time.